runs the offense. That's what I think. When I think Sean Payton, we talk about this a lot. Like, what do you do as a head coach? Sean Payton, it's his offense, okay? This isn't delegate. This is Sean Payton's deal. And when he puts his neck on the line for a guy like Bo Nix, who's 16-1, by the way, to win Rookie of the Year this year, we know Caleb Williams is a short number there, like plus $1.25. It says to me that that's not just like, hey, I really like Bo Nix. My reputation as an offensive guru, which is what Sean Payton's reputation has been, gets put on the line. So he clearly said Russell Wilson is not my guy. So they ship him off. And by the way, they basically paid him to go away to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Steelers are paying like $1 million of like $39 million, basically.
So think about that in context, people. That's what Sean Payton thought about his quarterback room and said, I'm going to go get this kid out of Oregon, and this is going to be our guy. Now we'll find out if Jarrett Stidham can really be in the competition there. Because I actually liked some of the other guys, and we'll find out about Zach Wilson, what he looks like, if he's a third stringer there. But it does feel like this is going to be Bo Nix and Sean Payton. Is that enough for you to say I would trust them to 6? Because I haven't gotten to the window on it.
Not yet. Not yet for me. Now, we talk about how the Raiders question on the offensive line. That's the thing I like most about the Denver Broncos is their offensive line, even though no experience at center because Lloyd Cushenberry goes to the Tennessee Titans. But you have two good tackles, Garrett Bowles and Mike McGlinchey. Quinn Miners was excellent at guard last year. So, the offensive line, I think you got some depth there, and they may be able to run the ball. That takes the pressure off a young quarterback. But the quarterback, obviously inexperienced here. Now, Payton runs that West Coast, so that's a perfect scheme, I think, for Bo Nix, that timing thing that obviously Drew Brees ran so well for him in New Orleans. So the scheme is good. Is Bo Nix good enough? And we don't know that yet. The defense is what I don't like for Denver. They just don't have Patrick Surtain is excellent in the secondary. Patrick Surtain the second, I should say. His daddy was pretty good too.
Yeah, he was.
But they just don't have a lot of playmakers. They gave up a 70 burger to the Dolphins last year, and they improved a little bit, But gosh, this defense to me, I don't think that they're really loaded with talent on that side of the ball, and that's where I think you're going to struggle. And in this division, you can really struggle with teams that can move the football.
And then when we're talking about the elite quarterbacks in this division, obviously we're looking at the best quarterback in the game right now, Patrick Mahomes. That's why they're the two-time reigning Super Bowl champions. But besides Patrick Mahomes, it's Steve Spagnuolo and that defense that sometimes I still think gets overlooked when we look at the Chiefs and why they're the two-time reigning defending champions.
I thought the defense actually won them the damn Super Bowl last year. And because the Chiefs, if you really look at it, despite the fact they got the best quarterback in the game, the offense was down. He really wasn't trusting a lot of his receivers until Rashee Rice, by the way, did come on at least late in the season. Kelsey was Kelsey.
But he had some, they were slow in the plotting in the middle of the year.
Yeah, they were down. They were down last year, and that's why you saw them hit some offense in the free agent market and in the draft. Rice still dealing with the legal situation, and that's why they signed Hollywood Brown away from Arizona. And then Xavier Worthy with the first round pick. He is not a big kid, but record 4.21 in the 40. So, if you're fast, they can't catch you and hurt you as a small guy necessarily. So the Chiefs, that's really what they lacked too last year. They didn't lack that speedy guy they've always had. They had with Tyreek Hill, obviously, since trading him 2 years ago. But I think Xavier Worthy, I know I was really high. I know he was a little bit polarizing. Some didn't like that pick because of the lack of size, but he's got speed, and that's what the Chiefs needed because I thought that they were a little bit slow offensively. And the Chiefs, by the way, are a team when they get a lead, people think they're so explosive because of Mahomes. They slow that game down. They absolutely slow that game down. So, look, I think the Chiefs are still the deserved favorite in this division. Would not shock me to see them get to a third Super Bowl in a row.
And Jim Harbaugh, of course, is taking over in L.A. with the Chargers, year number 1 for him. Look, again, I talked about with Dable in the NFC, respect you have for certain coaches, maybe in Sean Payton to a degree. I do have a lot of respect for Harbs. I think they're going to look a lot better year 1.
Yeah, I could see that. Look, I think Herbert will. They've obviously spent a lot of money on that offensive line. The whole thing with the Chargers, they're very, very inexperienced at receiver. On defense, they're good up front. not so good in the secondary. And that's something that I think could be scary. But I think they'll be able to run the ball. I think Herbert should have a very good season. I think the win total is right. I'm kind of like 50-50 on this team right now because I think they'll show some improvements, but there's still holes on this roster.
Yeah, over 8.5, by the way, is juiced heavily. -$55 if you want to play that over. So a lot of juice if you think this is at least a 9-win football team. Come on back. Hour number 3, much more NFL to get to. It's the release of the guide here at the network.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happens. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day, making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable. But how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
We are live outside the home of Joe and Rosie Goddard, where a pretty big tickle fight broke out just minutes ago. Sources say their father instigated the laughter. Let's go inside for a comment. Apparently, they have no comment. Dads, let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
How's it going? I'm having a stroke. Are you going to shake my hand? I'm having a stroke. Wow, you're not even moving your arm. I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway Club Fitting Center, and an Odyssey Fitting Studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
Warren and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It's time to kick back and listen to the sports page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. The station is Western Reserve Radio. We do the show here at Gessler Propane Studio in Struthers, Ohio. Dave Clark.
Yep.
It's the summer, a lot going on. And then obviously it's just though it is the summer. So we kind of hit a lull, a little bit of a lull.
Yeah,
Football is, what do you think, Dave? 30?
Yeah, it's getting there, though. What was it? Today is the 6th?
Yeah, today is July 6th.
It's 2 weeks there. The camps, a lot of camps open.
Okay.
Yeah. You got, I think one of them is around the 18th, and most of them are like in the 20s that they start. So you're talking about 2 weeks, camps open. And you have the Hall of Fame game with the first weekend in August. And yeah, that once that happens, it's in high school and college, and it's on.
It's on.
Yep.
Yeah, for some reason, it seems like after July 4th, the summer vanishes.
Yeah, I mean.
Kind of it goes July 4th, and then you blink twice. It's almost Labor Day.
Yeah, I know. And I love football. I do. I love the time. But man, I just hate what comes after.
Right.
It just changes things. And then, you got everything leading up to the Olympics also, which will be in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So it'll be a lot going on.
Yeah, there will be. And I think that this past week, I thought what was real interesting was the free agency, the NBA. I like the NBA free agency because they get right. It starts and it's like within 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
It's like over, but everybody signs.
It's like a
they don't drag it out.
No, it's like a madhouse too. This guy's going everywhere.
And that's the best part. The free agency is really changing the landscape. Somewhat of the NBA. Paul George going to Philadelphia 76ers now. Philadelphia has their big three. Tyrese Maxey, who I believe they did sign him long term. They've got Embiid. And now you have Paul George.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, Philadelphia is a potential challenge in the East where they were kind of missing that third, and now they went out and got it with Paul George. The problem with Philadelphia is always going to be Embiid's health. If Joel Embiid stays healthy, if he can, Philadelphia could really give Boston a challenge, providing then Paul George could stay healthy, because he's a little up and down. But if those guys can all keep their health and they can roll into the playoffs, I mean, I saw how Joel Embiid played against the Knicks with one leg.
Yeah.
And they almost beat the Knicks with Joel Embiid running around on one leg.
Yeah. And still was dominating.
Yes.
At that.
Yes.
The guy got some unbelievable talent.
Unbelievable skill and talent.
Yeah. He's very skilled, big man.
He and the Joker, you could argue who's the best. If Joel Embiid is healthy, I would almost get into a debate he could be slightly better than the Joker when he's 100% healthy. Right. It's a very, very close call, though.
Right.
Somebody could argue, well, the Joker is a little bit better, but there's not a big difference between those two players.
Yeah.
Embiid being healthy, he could be maybe the best player in NBA right now if he stays healthy.
Yeah.
That's
and that's the thing. And if you want, they would be the best. I look at it as if I have a team that has some very good outshot shooters on it. Now, Joker might be the better fit for me because I feel he's a better. Now, Joel Embiid can pass.
He can pass pretty good.
But I don't know if he passes better than the Joker. He might be a little bit better passer.
Yeah, Joker could have him. You're right. Joker is slightly better in passing.
If you lean on the scoring, and you say, I got to lean on this big man a little bit more for scoring, then I'm taking Embiid because he can hit from the outside, inside, whatever. It doesn't matter what he do. You want post-up game? Doesn't matter. He does it all. So that's the thing. If you just look at it, both of them healthy. But that's if they can stay healthy. I know they had a big three when they had James Harden. But the thing that's a little bit different with this is that Paul George can score, but he's a big wing type guy.
Yeah, he's a wing.
And he can play defense. He can multiple positions he can guard. And the big thing, I don't know if the Sixers did it yet, but they need to, is to re-sign and get Andre Drummond back at Philadelphia. They said that was one of the most that's the year that Joel Embiid won the MVP because he had
Drummond.
He had Drummond as a backup, and Drummond gave him ultimate time to be able to come out of games. Sometimes Philly can't take him out, so he stay in for so long. And not that Paul Reed, who was pretty good too, he wasn't Andre Drummond, who can control the boards, who's led the league in NBA rebounding and can score when need to. So he's a guy. I don't know if they signed him yet, but I know they said talks was before about a week or so ago about re-signing him, being part of that roster. So you need to get him back on there. He's a guy that has accepted his role now in his career, so he'd be a perfect backup. You need a guy that can back up and beat up so he won't have to put so many minutes on his legs.
With Philadelphia, I know we talk about load management, or I refer to it as loaf management. But reality here, if you're the 76ers, you really, especially Embiid, because you try to get him almost as healthy as you can for the playoffs. You realistically have to work the load management and really restrict his minutes, get him to play, get in shape, but restrict the minutes during the year. So when you roll into the playoffs, he's as close to 100% as you can. Because if he is that close, the closer he is to the 100%, and obviously George needs to be healthy too. Now Tyrese Maxey seems he doesn't have the injuries. Paul George has had his injury history. Yeah. Those two out. He and Kawhi Leonard, it just never worked out. Everybody thought they were going to get multiple championships in the Clippers, but they are the Clippers, and somehow, some way, things always go awry with certain teams. And Kawhi Leonard and Paul George could never seem to be healthy at the same time. and they were never able to attain the championships that everybody thought they should have.
Yeah. Because everybody thought that. I actually thought, I didn't think he was going to go, but I actually thought that Kawhi Leonard should have went to the Lakers. But a lot of times I felt that, and a lot of guys that are stars sometimes don't want to go and play alongside LeBron. Not because of dislike or anything, but I just think because of the stardom of that.
Right.
And it's a lot of fanfare that follows LeBron. And whether good fans, bad fans, publicity, sometimes it's hard to be in that type of atmosphere. You can't certain guys can't handle that. Other teammates can't handle that. So, I think that's why they may shy away from going there. But that's why I thought if he wanted to continue to win championships, because Kawhi Leonard is a top flight guy when he is
healthy. When he's healthy, he's one of the top 5 in the right.
I thought they would have been winning. I felt if he went to the Lakers, you team him and LeBron and Anthony Davis up. I mean, what you going to do with that? I don't know how you're going to stop that. That's going to be some major problems to stop with that kind of lineup. Just those 3 right there. So I was really shocked. Then even when George, after Kawhi was there, and then he got George to come too. I thought either one of them should have went to the Lakers, but like I said, they shy away from that. And Clippers got rid of thing. And I just read today an article that they actually did it and got him to Philly for spite, because he actually wanted to go. He talked about Philly, but he wanted to still stay out west. And it was right there that Golden State was going to make a trade and sign and give him a max deal. And out of spite, I guess they had some issues with Paul George, I guess because he wasn't going to come back. I was just reading it this morning that they wouldn't trade him to Golden State. They made sure they sent him to Philly.
So the Clippers did not obviously want to make a trade within their division.
Yeah, and especially just because they said because he was so high on, that's where he wanted to go. Even what they were going to be getting from Golden State would have been
better,
tremendous. Yeah,
right.
But they said no, we're not sending you there out of spite. So that's Philly's gain, But that would have been something with him down there at Golden State and the way they play their type game there. He would fit. A lot of people say, well, how you going to, that's another forward. You got Draymond Green. Now he would have fit just because of the style of game they play. So, but hey, I think he's back to the East Coast. Hasn't been there since Indiana.
Right.
So
that's as close as East, right? Yeah.
So I think he can't complain. This is a team that's not far away.
He's going to a good team.
Yeah, he's going to a good team. It's not far away. Just got to assemble that bench and supporting cast and stay healthy, like you've been saying all morning. That's the key in it. They will challenge Boston because
they will.
Boston has all the talent, but they always give me the air. They could be one of the most talented teams, but won't continue to win because of just things that they do.
Well, they get we talked at length with Boston. They have a tendency to fall in love with the 3-point play, and they start playing down to the level of the opponent, and that keeps teams in a game,
right?
Because they just don't adjust sometimes. Now, maybe they've obviously overcome it. They won their first title, and usually once you get over that hump, then all the multiple titles seem to fall into play, and the team's back.
Yeah.
Now they're selling the team. The team's up for sale.
Yeah, let's see that.
Which I thought was interesting because now the Nets are for sale. Mavericks sold. Cuban sold his share. Now he still has part ownership, but he sold, I guess, the majority of it to the other person. I can't remember the person's name, but he sold his share, so he's no longer the majority owner in Dallas. The Nets are selling their team, and now Boston is selling their team. And I thought, wonder why everybody's getting out. Like, there's 3 teams. Why are they selling? Maybe they're figuring that, get the market's high.
Yeah.
The money is there. They're getting a good TV deal.
Yeah, I think that's got a lot.
They want to get out now and get. See what people don't understand, and I have a tendency to take it for granted. Like the team can have a market value of say $3 billion or $4 billion,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean the person has that money.
Right.
And they still need operating capital money to run the team. So you still have to balance the budget, sort of to speak. You have the TV revenue rolling in the door, and you have ticket sales and merchandise. You make money off those concessions, as we talk at length. But then you got to pay the players, and you got to pay to heating, air conditioning, the building, the utilities. It's not cheap.
Well,
and then you got to maintain the building, clean it after every game, and you got to pay obviously that part of it.
Keep it up to the standards of what it needs to be.
Exactly,
and not be Oakland Alameda County Stadium.
No,
we got to
where
keep
you
it up
got
to
the
standards.
possums growing in the walls.
We don't want that.
No, we don't want And then you got probably the animal rights people get upset with you because you're allowing possums to grow, to stay there. So not healthy for everybody involved.
No, that's right.
But the point on that whole thing is, so there is money that you have to put into the team. So you balance the budget, and you still have, you have to still, pay your bills, make the money, but make sure you have enough money coming in to pay the bills. And sometimes, obviously, that's a challenge. So I think maybe some owners are thinking, hey, this team is worth so many billion, I'm cashing in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get all my money now.
And that's it.
And I'm going to get out and, let some corporate conglomerate come in, buy the team, pay me. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what kind of price tag the Celtics sell for.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So
will it bring the 3 or 4 billion, or, I'll have to look this up as far as, I always love looking at that Forbes when they start putting a number on what the value of each team is.
Yeah.
And I think the Dallas Cowboys are the number one team, followed by the New York Yankees as far as what the value of those teams are.
That's going to be something.
And that's
always is. It's always interesting to see that.
And I always imagined, because what I thought was interesting was when Snyder sold Washington. I mean, at one time they thought the book value or the value was like $3 billion or $4 billion, but he actually got $6 billion for it. He got like almost double what they valued it. So when Forbes throws that number out, that number is, I call it like a rough guide.
That's what. Yep, it's just a guiding measure,
because that's all it is.
Yeah,
because it's really
going up from that,
and it doesn't matter what that number is. It's what you can get for it.
Yep. And always they're going to get or go for more than what they're talking about. Always way above it. If you can double it, that's what you want to do. That's great financial decision making if you can do that. But at least they want to get something, even if it's not doubled, you're going to get 50% markup. So if $3 million, if you can get $3 billion, if you get $4.5 billion for it, okay. You felt like you did a great job and be able to do that, but it's interesting. And as far as, like we always have stuff. We always can find stuff to talk about when we call this the lull time of it. But one thing I do like is something about this year. I am so kind of giddy, hyper for football.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm interested in, it's so many storylines in the NFL. We talked about these divisions. It's unbelievable. I think it's just a lot of divisions from top to bottom. Any of the teams could win the division. And then you look at the college playoff. Finally, I still remember us doing shows talking about the Final Four. We was excited when they first did that. Then we got now I don't know, you only can speak for yourself, but I know I got kind of bored with it because it was like, okay, Pat, we know that so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so are going. They're going. We can actually just pick it out. We know Michigan, Ohio State is going, one of those two. We know Alabama, Georgia, or somebody, they're going.
They're in the mix, right?
If not Alabama and Georgia.
Right.
And then your Big Ten team is going.
And Clemson.
And Clemson.
They fell off, but yeah.
Yeah, they fell. Yep. And you knew that was it. If Clemson, as they fell off, then you could throw Oklahoma or whoever, Texas. I'm just throwing some out there. That's it. And it'll be just rhetoric over and over. We get a TCU like we did, go in there and get blown off the map. But I'm saying, still, that's what we've seen. And we always said, man, if we could at least get 8 teams, something going. And here they come up with 12. Very excited to see this kind of playoff finally, and then eventually, would they say it will go?
16, I think.
And it's coming quick, too.
Well, I'll give you this, just for the heck of it. What do you think is going to happen first? Because these are great. You could always argue this. But what do you think will happen first? College goes to 16 or the NFL goes to 18 games?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's one I probably have to sit down and think about for, because I almost think it's gonna come
quick.
At
the same time.
Yeah, I don't think it'll go past 3 or 4 years.
No.
I think it's coming quick.
No. I think the NFL is getting to 18 games real soon. Like
by the 26th season, you think?
Yeah. I would probably even make a little bit. I would not be surprised if they don't do it 2025. But probably you're right at 2026. But I would not be overly shocked because Goodell hinted to that. This is a few months ago, he kind of hinted to that. He wants to get more overseas. Mm-hmm. There's debate about will they put a team in London. I know that's been getting some legs to it, that story. But I ultimately think that they will get to 18 games. Maybe you're probably right at 2026, but I would not be overly shocked if they do 2025 because that's how bad. And they will probably go 2 bye weeks and stretch that season out. President's Day the Super Bowl will be played on President's Day weekend. So that Monday, everybody has off. So the Super Bowl will be the Sunday before President's Day.
Which makes so much sense. Yeah, it does.
So, I always thought years ago, but obviously NFL expanded, but I always thought they would do that with Martin Luther King's birthday, is make that like the Monday after the Super Bowl, but that's January. So they that won't work because they don't end in January. They want to stretch it up to February. So President's Day is the day that they're going to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, and they should.
And they should.
Yeah.
How many people? Right.
I would like to know that statistic. How many people per amount of Americans? And how many call off that have a job? I would like to know what the percentage.
I bet
that's just very interesting.
I bet it's through the roof. I know they got
guys,
more people calling or taking the day off.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Taking the day off.
They set it up way ahead of time.
They tell their boss, hey, I want that Monday off. I want the Monday after. I'm taking a personal day, vacation day, the Monday after the Super Bowl because I know I'm going to have a party and everybody's going to be wound up and I don't want to.
I mean, guys, there's no way. It's very hard. Let me put it down. I ain't going to say it's no way, but it's very hard to have a Super Bowl party.
Right.
And you watch it. The game is over at
10 o'clock.
Yep, 10 o'clock. You're watching all the extras afterwards.
And then you're right.
And then everybody's there. You're talking. You're having fun. Right. So you're 12:30. The game has been over, but you're still there lingering.
People are still there.
Now we got to clean up. You got to clean up afterwards.
You got to clean up.
So it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Easy.
And I got to be at work at 7.
Right. I got to get up at 6:30 to get to work.
No, can't do it.
I'm not doing it. No, I'm calling
in. You got President's Day.
Right.
You just have your good old time. You rest on that Monday.
Yep.
And back to work on Tuesday. You'll see everything will be better for everything. Even your work.
Sure.
Your employment will be much better because of it.
Everybody takes that day off.
Yeah.
A federal holiday. So now everybody has it off.
Yeah.
And they could just basically say, okay, everybody's taking that day off. It's like Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's like the Friday after Thanksgiving.
That's exactly what it is.
Very few people work. There are people that do work.
Yeah, and in some jobs
you can't help.
Like the hospital, police department, fire, they got to be at work.
They have to be because that's a job 24/7.
That's right.
But to your point, the average, corporation,
they're not working.
You're not working. And
it'd be great.
You get into the argument, how productive are your employees?
Yeah. Because a lot of them are not.
Because they're all talking about the Super Bowl anyway.
All day. I mean, I'm working at the hospital and I had to go to work the next day. 8 hours. Now, I'm going to sit here now. I can do it. And all your bosses can hear me say that. How much did I really work? No. I didn't really work that much. Even in the school system, I went there. I'm half tired.
Right.
Everybody. And then you're working with kids too. So now kids, they're so excited about the Super Bowl. They talk to you about it. You're talking to your other employees together about it. You're talking about that. Nobody's talking about what we're going to do in
whatever
English.
You're supposed to be doing.
We're not doing that. We're just talking about football all day. And now you're discussing who's going to make it next year. It has nothing to do with whatever your job is going on. It does not happen.
No.
So by eliminating that, you're going to have a lot more productive situation if it's like that. It's just going to make people more happier about it, too.
Yeah. And
a lot of people complain about it anyway.
And that's it. That's exactly it.
I mean, so they need to do it. And that discussion is what you was talking about, which one comes first. I said, the only reason I said 2026 because it's so close. Now we upon it, but you are right. There's no way I would be surprised if 2025 they go to 18.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
but I think both of them, when I say 2026, I would think it both happen because I think when they see what happened after this playoffs, they come up.
Oh, yeah.
And they see that money rolling in then the excitement.
Yeah.
That's another thing. They go, that fanfare.
Yeah.
They might say, okay, we'll let it go one more season and then we're going to 16.
Yeah, I could see college because, boy, they look at that money and the dollars, and they're thinking, man, okay, look at the TV ratings. Yeah. Look how big the TV ratings are. And they're going to say, well, why don't we just add 4 more teams and get to 16? That way there's no buys, and you got 16 teams playing. Yeah. And Division II, the Division III, all those other divisions of college do it anyway.
Right.
So it's like, hey, wait a minute. Why don't we go ahead and add 4 more teams? That makes the regular season
even
more interesting. And people are really going to get wound up because their team is in it.
Yeah.
And, I know.
Who cares about 15 seed? You might be that Cinderella that can do something. Right. That's why March Madness is so great.
That's why March is right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other that Thursday and Friday, who works those days?
Nobody.
Nobody.
When that thing starts off, it is nuts.
Right.
When I go to work, I don't even. I mean, we're going to be all honest now. As retirees.
Yeah, I'm retired.
I'm retired. That's what I'm saying. I'm done.
I don't have to.
Right. So all my old bosses can listen to this.
Yeah.
I came to the hospital.
Right.
To when I worked at the hospital. And went and sat in rooms with patients. And it was talking to them and watching the game.
Yeah, and they love that.
Yeah, come on in.
Hey, I got come on
I sit down an hour in this room.
Right.
I go down the hall.
Yeah.
I look around, whatever else, and I go and do something.
Right. And
I did.
Patients.
I'm just being honest.
Oh, yeah. And that was good for the patients because they had the interaction. And you coming in. They loved every minute of that. They're like, God, this is great. I got a guy watching the game who's into it. I'm into it. And you're going around to all the patients. So you're all everybody's getting worked up. It makes their hospital stay so much better and entertaining because you're spending all that great time with them watching basketball.
Yeah. You hit that one on the head because that is another big day. Nobody's paying attention to anything else. That first couple of days, I don't know why. The whole thing is great. Anyway, but them first couple of days, it's nuts.
I know.
For number 16 and knock somebody off.
That's it. And it's happened
a lot lately.
We'll be back after a quick timeout. Saturday Morning Sports Page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, Western Reserve Radio.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a
boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
So why do teenagers play high school sports?
My reason why is a sense of purpose.
My reason why is to inspire others.
One reason student athletes seldom mention is to get an athletic scholarship. They know that only 2% of all high school athletes are awarded a sports scholarship. So why do they play?
My reason why is friendship.
Tell us your reason using the hashtag #MyReasonWhy.
This message presented by the NFHS and the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Saturday morning sports page. Right back at you. Dave Clark, Pat Lucia, second quarter of the show.
Man, did that first quarter go fast?
It went by quick. And then during the break, the show goes strictly downhill because Gessler comes into the studio. And then it's just strictly downhill from there. Downhill. Show is just
I love Gessler.
Yeah, this show has gone to the dogs when Gessler gets here. Fact of life. He used to have his dog come into the studio, the big lab. Just raise all kinds of cane in here.
Oh, yeah, that was our, oh, man.
That was
Pick
great.
all the games.
Yeah, that dog would bark and we knew.
Yeah.
Pick the underdog.
It was right a lot of times.
That dog was right. That dog is right on those underdogs.
Yes.
He would bark. We'd hear him barking at the mailman or somebody. And that 9 times out of 10, we'd go to that underdog and that team would win.
Yeah.
So there's something about the.
Hey, the dog was great.
I always used to say, dogs were smarter than what people thought they were.
Oh, well, they are.
And now I've almost come to the conclusion that dogs are smarter than people.
In some cases.
And that's in getting to be most cases.
Yeah.
So some to most, but yeah. So that's how the show evolved. We had the dog, the barking, but that dog knew how to pick football games.
Yeah, it was fun. It was
great.
Fun. Yep. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm a football fan, sports fan, period. But I've been a big football fan. But this year, I got to say, knowing I'm going to be broadcasting high school, there's a lot of good high school teams around here. Bob was just in the studio talking with us off air. We haven't heard a lot about the teams yet, but they got the talent. That we'll start hearing about them. And I think it's going to be interesting that maybe we'll get a few teams from right in our area again going to the state like they did a couple years ago. Yeah. So I'm very excited about that. And like I said, I'm already up, just ready to go with the college football because the whole season, everything just means a big difference. Now that, I might be the 10th best team in the thing, but I got a chance. I can get in this.
And that's the best part with college football.
Yep.
That this year with the 12 teams.
Yep.
And like we said, the first part of the show, how long does the NCAA wait until it gets to the 16?
Yeah. I don't think you wait as long as you did getting this from 4.
No.
That's for sure.
I don't believe they are going to wait basically roughly 10 years from getting to 4 to 12. It took them forever to get to 4. And then I think it took too long to get to 12. But they finally did it. But I think once they get to 12, getting to 16 is not going to be real hard at all. Because it's going to be so easy to add 4 teams and then nobody gets a bye. And then it's basically
I think it makes more sense.
And it does make more sense, I think.
Because you're still gonna have that argument, okay, between who's number 1, who's number 2, whatever. But the big thing is that number 1 and number 2 gets that rest.
Right.
Like they earned that. And if they're number 1 or number 2, but all that is just guessing who's number 1 and number 2.
A lot of it, right.
It's
a fine line.
It's a fine line. 3 and 4 could be better than 1 and 2. So to your point, adding 4 teams, now nobody gets any kind of advantage.
No advantage.
Everybody plays.
Yep.
You got to play the same amount of weeks to get to all the way to your destination that you want to get to. And that makes even more sense. So I'm happy it's at 12, but I really can't wait to get to 16.
Yep. I could see that happening. Like I said earlier, the show, we put it out there. What will happen first? The NFL getting to 18 or college going to 20? I believe NBA, NFL will get to 18 real quick.
Yeah.
Because Goodell's already thrown it out there, like how, and translation is Goodell's doing what the owners tell him to do because that's who pays him.
Right.
So the fact that he brings that up and throws that out about getting to 18, that's the owners.
That's the owners they've been talking about. He knows they're excited to get to that.
And he knows that the owners are probably telling him, hey, Roger, when can we get to 18 games? Now they got to get with the union and figure, and that's going to be the hurdle. But then they'll probably have to make a couple concessions with the union. I think they'll probably cut the free agency a year so players can get to free agency a year quicker.
Yep.
Will probably be a concession, though, and they'll have to give 2 bye weeks and increase roster for obviously health reasons. And
you have to.
You're going to have to add more players, which is going to obviously raise the cost. And then the free agency cutting that back a year will obviously make your salaries go up because players can get to free agency a little quicker.
And that makes the UFL even more important because now those guys as fringe, they might be fringe in NFL. They didn't got the experience playing in that league and being really good. They can get right there and be ready for the NFL. And because we see that happening already.
Right. We're seeing it now.
Yeah.
And all that I want to call it the USFL.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
So bad.
Yeah.
Because it's just ingrained in my head. But when that gets going and going into the future, that's going to be a feeder for the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
I mean, you're just going to see NFL scouts are going to those games, watching those players, and figuring, okay, where can I fill in a gap? And then when you expand your roster size, you're going to have to go to 18 games. You're going to have to increase your roster and the place. Not the playoff squad, but it's the taxi squad.
The practice squad.
When you practice squad, thank you. When you throw you're going to have to increase your practice squad, and you're going to have to use the USFL. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard. The UFL. It's going to be hard.
UFL. I'm going to have to write it down.
Yep.
UFL. You got to really basically put UFL, and that's where you're going to get some of your talent from there. And then obviously you're going to have the colleges.
Yep, there's always definitely the big feeder.
It'll be the big feeder, but UFL will be
it's going to be
big feeder too.
So it is.
It's going ultimately I think they get to 18 first because, and the only reason why I've said it is Goodell. Goodell's already thrown that out there.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that might happen next year, 25, or to your point, probably 26. But I don't think it's going to get past 26.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason it's going to be if it's held up.
It's the
players. Might go, that's all, because it's going to be things they got to get
right
with the union. But when you overall look at it, and the players, right, you got to negotiate to get some things, concessions that you need. But they even know that's better for them. If they go to 18, that means expanded roster. That means other people that normally might have been right on the fringe, they got cut. Now they're not going to be cut.
Right.
They'll make the regular squad.
They're going to make this regular squad.
And then some of these other guys that got cut and was not signed as a practice player, now they'll be signed.
They'll make it.
That. It just increases, gives more opportunities for more players. All that is good for them. What else is going to happen? Another game means salaries goes up because you're making more money. So really, when you look at it, all those things in favor of them. They just want to get a couple of these concessions. That's the only thing that can hold it up to 2026 is they got to get through that to get all that.
Get through the labor.
Everybody just sign off on it.
But if they can get to it,
but they
sit
know,
down.
Yeah,
they're not far.
Come on, because football is king. It's ridiculous. They know they make.
It's the old saying about I could sell ice water in the desert.
Yeah, they could do it with ease.
And TV will love it because that means they're just going to give you more games. And again, like I said, Amazon Prime has the Thursday games, and then now you got YouTube.
You have Netflix. You have Tubi. Anybody be having NFL games on? It is. That's where we're going with.
They basically know they could put an NFL game on, and even college games, because these bowl games are the college games, the games that everybody could play. All those bowls don't count. It's true, but people watch them.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to watch college bowl games, and they've shown it. The ratings on these college bowl games actually do better than NBA, and they do better than regular season NBA and regular season baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Those sports don't even get what the bowls actually outdraw them as far as viewership on TV. And we know that at the end of the day, TV is driving the boat. That's where the money, that's the big source of revenue.
Yep.
And the more eyeballs on the set, the more money they ultimately make because their ratings go up and they could sell advertising time, request more money for ad time because they know they're going to get good ratings.
Right.
So
and what else might happen in the NFL? We didn't mention it. It's just as we talked about the college going from 12 to 16, more than likely NFL might add another playoff team or something, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's going to happen. I know there's right now the NFL has 14 teams getting into the postseason. I think that's going to I think that was the other thing we didn't get to, but I could see that is there's 32 teams. I know people get crazy about, well, that's not right for the regular season. It waters it down, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, sure. Okay. At the end of the day, people don't care. They're watching football anyway.
Yeah.
I think there's a good possibility that the NFL will get to 16 teams quicker. And I would almost make the argument if they go to 18 games, they might just flip the switch at the same time. Say, okay, we're going to go to 18 games and we're going to do 16 NFL teams get into the playoffs.
8 in each conference.
Yep.
I can see it.
I could see that. I could see that kind of happening real soon because, again, the wild card, look at all the ratings for those wild card games go through the roof.
Yep.
Add more wild card games, add a couple more games. Yep. And you got the wild card weekend where there's basically 3 games?
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
And I wonder, will they call it wild card anymore? Because then all the teams, nobody will be off.
Right.
More than likely, they'll have them all play.
Right. So you might just, maybe they rephrase it, but everybody will be, it doesn't matter because everybody's watching it anyway.
Yeah, they're going to watch it. You give me one extra team, just one more team, and you see how many teams was on the fringe they could have made the playoff, but they, just missed.
And you could sit there, and I know I've listened, there's critics out there. Well, the quality of the football, the games aren't good. They're blowouts, blah, 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 blah. And I've heard it, radio people refute, you don't get a quality, the opening. But you know what? Yeah, you could say that, but people are watching it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, nobody is I'm convinced nobody's not going to watch it because, I know this game isn't going to be any good. No, I'm going to sit down and watch it anyway because I want to see what happens.
Right.
So you're going to still, regardless of, you could sit there and listen to certain radio hosts say, well, it's garbage, it's terrible, and that game doesn't mean anything, and garbage this, and that's a garbage game. And I go, yeah, that's true, but I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Like I've had, certain radio hosts will basically, some of those Thursday night games, they're garbage games. I go, yeah, they are. But I'm watching. That's the whole thing with football. You might say, I don't care if it's the Carolina Panthers playing like maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and maybe both teams aren't very good on a Thursday night. I'm watching that game anyway.
Yeah.
And that's just it. If it's NFL football, I think there's a lot of people watch it anyway.
Yeah.
And nobody is not watching the games. That's the best part of it. Like Sunday games, some of the Sunday games aren't supposed to be any good, but people will tune in and end up watching a really good football game on maybe two teams that aren't really going anywhere, but people are going to watch that game anyway and still get worked up and psyched and say, hey, this is really a great game.
Yep. No matter what.
Well, that's it.
So I pay no attention to
I
that
don't
one.
either.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to listen and hear that because it makes me laugh but when all the ratings come out, all those games have really good ratings because people don't care about if the teams are really that good or not. It's the NFL football and they're watching it.
Yeah. And when they showed was a real factor was not that the teams are bad, because that's the thing about the NFL. From the 32 to the number 1 team, they may only be a few players away from being just as good because the NFL is so good. The players are so good. So you may be off a couple, but then really the bad reason is you play Sunday and turn around and play Thursday. A lot of these guys are not recovering because of the physicality of the game. It's just different. So they're not they're not at their top. So then you don't get the performance that you need. And that's why we see blowouts. You'll see games and you say, man, they beat them by 30. They're not that much better than that team. That team just didn't have it that night.
That night didn't have it.
They wore out, stuff like that. So you remember they said they was trying to work on where the team, when they play, to be coming off of a bye if they could. It probably just makes it so complicated. To be able to do it,
And I know they want to put more teams over in Europe playing.
Yeah, and that would really be something.
And that's a challenge because then you have the longer flights.
Yeah.
And to deal with. And some people are critical of that.
Yeah, I agree.
They're not overly fond of their team going over there to play, then come back and have nothing, quote, left in the tank the following week. But I think that at the end of the day, when you break it down, football rolls around. NFL is still king. College football is up there with them, but not quite NFL level, but they're close.
Yep.
And then after that, the other sports you could argue which one is better. Is it NBA or baseball?
Mm-hmm.
Hockey, obviously, is basically, I throw college football being 2. Hockey's probably 5. You can flip the coin as which one is number 3? I don't know.
Yeah.
NBA playoffs this year were okay, but the problem with the playoffs this year, the East was kind of a slam dunk. Boston dominated the East. The West was interesting because there's better competition out there. And then the finals weren't really that good because you knew Boston was going to win, especially when they won the first couple games.
Right.
You knew
and
it was
everything
over.
just fell in place for them. So that's why I said we're going to see what happened this upcoming season.
And at least the upcoming, as we talked earlier about, George going over to Philadelphia. What does that do? That at least might add some competition in the East. I think the Knicks did good, but I think losing Hartenstein over to Oklahoma City is going to hurt them because he was a great backup.
Mm-hmm.
And, he filled in for Mitchell Robinson really good, and he's a good offensive player. But Oklahoma City had a lot of money and just paid him a lot more money than the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened.
And that's what happens. They gave him 3 years at $80 what was it, 3 years, $89 million, almost $30 million a year. And he's a good player, but he's, again, not even get into the whole debate as whether or not the players are worth it.
It's what they're going to get.
It's what they get.
Right.
It's what they're going to, in
Plain
the NBA, people get all worked up about these guys. They're not worth it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, fine. But that's the market. That's what they're getting. That's what the owners,
that's what they're going to get.
And that's what they're getting.
Yep. Plain and simple.
I think the Knicks, right.
I mean, they lost it, but I don't know why. It might be some factors, but I looked at who could they get as a backup, and I seen this a couple of names, but then they got signed. But Thomas Bryant is a guy that's played at the Lakers,
right?
As a backup, was really good there. Helped out. I think he went to Denver. You go and get him because he's still out there. And he's a competent big man that can score and rebound. Get him to back up Mitchell Robinson. Because I was thinking definitely Mitchell Robinson was out the door. I was thinking, but now with that sign of Hartston, you got to make sure he's healthy. He had his surgeries and everything. He's healthy, and you get a nice backup. So you have a tandem there from your center position. Everything else on the Knicks right now, other than as we talked about, getting another primary ball handler.
Yeah, that's what they're going to have.
They need to get that, and I really think they could be tough. Philly, we feel, could be tough. This could make it. Milwaukee, I think, will adapt this season. We didn't see what we should have seen out of Milwaukee, and it's a lot of it got to do with Drew Holiday going on a defense end. But I believe if they pick up the right guys to go with that blended talent that they have, I think they can come back and be in the mix once again. They can't lose Brook Lopez, or did they?
No.
They didn't yet, did they? But I know he's out there to be signed.
Yeah, I think they need to sign him.
They actually they got to keep him around.
Yeah, that's going to be a real problem with Milwaukee, is because I think they didn't know, maybe they didn't realize, but when they traded Drew Holiday to Boston, they pretty much gave Boston the championship, because my eyes, Drew Holiday was kind of that missing link that Boston needed.
Yeah.
And they got him, and they're
Well, what they did is they actually traded him to Portland.
Right.
And Portland just, they was able to just let him go.
And they
didn't really want him.
And then they handed
him to Boston because
they handed him to Boston.
Because that's where he wanted to go. Yeah, and it was open. Portland didn't want him, so it was easy for him to get there. They opened the door, even though they was thinking, well, we send him out west. Okay, how long you think you're going to stay there? Yeah, he wasn't going there.
No.
So that was it. And he went right to Boston.
Milwaukee was never the same after they traded him.
No.
They lost that defensive.
Well, people said they should have found out a way, and they could have.
Right.
To keep him along with Damian Lillard.
Right.
Because Damian Lillard, they were showing some things. He will play defense, but he got to be motivated. And you got a guy
like Drew Holiday
next to him that's going to motivate. You already know you're going to get the offense from Damian Lillard.
Yeah, you got the offense.
So you get him playing defense along. I'd have found a way to have both of those.
Yeah. I don't know why, especially in the NBA, they couldn't have figured out how to
it's no way. I would have kept had both of them.
I think Drew Holiday is one of the most underrated players in the league.
Always been.
But he's smart. Like, he knows where to be, and all those clutch plays, like in those down, like you're 2 minutes left in the game. He's the guy that picks up the guy charges into.
Right.
He forces the turnover. He makes the steal. He makes the 3-pointer. They say, he's not a great shooter. Yeah, but in clutch time, he makes that shot.
Yeah.
Or he makes that steal. When there's 1 minute left in the game, he jumps in, makes the steal, he gets fouled, he goes to the foul line, makes the 2 shots, and you win the game. He is the kind of guy that's always there in those situations, and he makes those great plays. And you look at his stat sheet, well, it's okay. Yeah, but when you look at situational, he's one of the best situational players in the NBA, I think.
Yeah, and then the thing on top of that, is you get a journeyman like Derek White that you think is just out there. This guy plays unbelievable. They got to keep him signed. I think they did.
No, they signed. They signed him,
and he's a
they
guy.
They just did.
It's all kind of teams who wanted him after they see he wasn't just getting the time that he needed when he was in other places. I think Dallas or wherever. Now he got the time to play. You see what type of player. He's another guy, as you just described. He's always in the right place when he needs to. Make the big play when you don't expect something to happen. Here you go, big shot. Everything.
Let me give you what Boston has lined up here. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum are signed up through 28-29.
Mm-hmm.
They're there. Drew Holiday is actually signed through 26-27. He has a player option for 27 and 28. So Drew Holiday's there for 3 more years guaranteed. Holiday and Brown are there 5 years guaranteed. Kristaps Porzingis has 2 years left.
Okay.
Then Derek White, who you just brought up, he just signed the brand new deal that's going to he's there 5 more years. So they signed Derek White. So White, Brown, and Tatum are there for 5 more years. Drew Holiday is there for 3 more years. Porzingis is there 2 more years. And Peyton Pritchard is there for 4 more years.
Yeah. See that core is solid for a long time.
And they're not going anywhere. These guys are there. That's why, Philly added George, Paul George. I think they'll compete with Boston.
Yeah.
But long term, I could see Boston get multiple championships with this team because you've got your core set.
Yep.
And there's no opt-outs. These guys are 3 years, they're set.
And that's what I said with the other teams, you need a healthy Giannis, go with Damian Lillard. You need Embiid to stay healthy.
Right.
And, and then the little wild card is our own Cleveland Cavaliers.
Right.
Who did re-sign Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, that's true. That was a big 3 more years.
And I don't know what else pieces they're going to add to that team. That team can play well. They stay healthy also. They are another team that is, you sleep on them. All of a sudden you see yourself done lost, in the play. So you got that team, you got the Knicks still there. So it's going to be interesting. You think that, they won the championship, Boston, and you got away with a loss and things fell your way. Do that happen again? Teams are going to be, the bullseye gets bigger when you done won that championship. And now we got to see how can they respond to that. Because that's the biggest thing. You win it, and once you get it, now how do you respond as being the guy to hunt it now? You was the hunter before, but now being the hunted is a whole different atmosphere.
When you look at the Cavs now, they'll have Garland and Mitchell through 27-28, 4 more years. They're signed, sealed, and delivered for the Cavs. 4 years, they're there. Jared Allen has got 2 years. This year, next year, then he's a free agent. Karis LeVert is in the last year of his deal. Max Strus is there for 3 years.
Okay.
And then the only other player, Evan Mobley has got this year, and then next year is the qualifying offer year, so they have to decide what they're going to do with Evan Mobley after this year. They're going to either have to match, get into matching the offer or giving them a new deal. So they're probably going to have to consider signing Mobley to a big brand new deal,
right?
Which they probably will. So that's going to give the Cavaliers a good core of players too. Right. Now that Donovan Mitchell signed,
right?
So you have the teams in the East are getting better. I think it's just that the Boston, I still think, is leading. Just with what they have, it's just a matter of.
And that's where you have to look at it that way. But I just think if these other teams can stay healthy, that's going to make it interesting.
That's always the key, especially with the playoffs, is the health issue.
Yep.
And as they work their way toward the end of the league or end of the season, who's the healthiest team? And that's always the key.
And I see Denver is trying to do some things, and our guy came on and the Joker came on and actually said he's openly recruiting Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
He said he's going to talk to him and stuff. He want him there because he's not going to be with the Clippers. So
no, that's right.
They want to add that to their core, and they're trying to get all those other guys re-signed. They're trying to get Pope back and make sure everybody's signed.
Jamar Murray just signed his new deal, right? Or is that still in the work? They haven't got it. Yeah,
maybe it's not final. I don't know if
they're finalizing it, but we'll get to that. But it's the halftime of the show. We'll be back after a quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway Club fitting center, and an Odyssey fitting studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. If you want to call in and talk sports, we do it every Saturday morning here. And here is Western Reserve Radio. So it is the Saturday morning sports page. Second half of the show, Dave Clark. The first half kind of went by like a blur. I know it's early July. It's a little thin as far as sports stories. But we're getting into the NBA a little bit. Interesting, though. I think the NBA salaries and free agency is always really interesting. I think it, has a lot of drama sometimes, but just kind of figuring out where people are going and what will it do to the team. Will the team be better? Like I said, the Knicks lost Hartenstein. Can they, readjust? I think that was a kind of a tough hit. But they offered him 4 years at $72 million, but it's just that Oklahoma City had a lot more money. They offered him 3 years at $89 million. He went where the money was. I can't ever blame the player for taking the most money. That's what it is. I just, I did want to get this out. I read a great book, actually by the late, great Dave DeBuscher wrote on the New York Knicks 69-70 season called Open Man. And it was a diary of that year, of day in and day out of the grind and the travel. And what always blew me away is they played like 3 games in a row. And they would travel out west and they would play went to Phoenix L.A. night, a day off, and up to Seattle and played, and then came home and played 3 games in a row.
Right.
And the grind, and this is just what the landscape of the NBA in late 60s, early 70s, and like you brought up, in the 80s, they played this way.
Yeah.
All that they played, and you look at Bird and Magic and Jordan, those guys played every game.
Yeah.
Like when you look at Magic and Bird, they played 80 games a year, 82, 80. They played all their games.
Right.
Magic Johnson never load managed.
No.
And neither did Bird.
If Jordan, they were out, they were injured.
No, they were hurt. Legitimately hurt.
Yeah. They were out because of
they had to have, and then sometimes they played when they were hurt, like Bird in the concussion.
Yep.
He played the playoff game with a concussion and won the game.
Yeah.
And he should have never played, but he did.
And I know people hate Isaiah, but
no, Isaiah played with that sprained ankle that's
the one they shouldn't even been playing on.
No, and he played really good. I never saw a player in my life. Isaiah Thomas played on a sprained ankle. I don't know how the hell he played, and he played really good. I don't know how he did it.
It was on one leg.
On one leg.
Hopping down.
But he played a great game on one leg. Yeah. But he played on a brutally sprained ankle. I mean, unbelievable, man. I mean, those guys
were just different. This was different.
They were. It was just a different mindset and a different era.
Yeah, that's really what it is, right there, mindset. Because those guys had that determination. I'm not saying the guys today don't, but there's so many different concessions given to the player of today than what you had back then. It wasn't in your mind to sit out. What am I doing? You paying me? Oh, I'm playing. I want to play. I don't care. Fred Dreyer. Playing the Super Bowl with a broken leg. It wasn't Dreyer.
It wasn't Dreyer.
Youngblood.
Youngblood.
Yep.
Youngblood.
Youngblood did that.
Well, look at T.O. He played that Super Bowl with a. Didn't he break the ankle? But he played that Super Bowl. He wasn't fully healed.
No,
and he played really a great Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he basically was.
Yes, he did.
He was not 100% here, but he was playing anyway. And he went out. And I know all the people that criticized T.O. for his off the court. He was always kind of stirring stuff up off the field, but on the field in the lines, no one played harder.
Yeah, what can you say about it when it comes to that?
No, you can't.
Can't say anything about that guy.
He was playing the Super Bowl basically on a broken ankle.
Yeah.
That had not fully healed. And he played good.
Yeah, real good.
I mean, he didn't get out there and limp. No, he got open. He made catches. He made plays. And he was basically playing on a broken ankle. I would love to talk to T.O. and go, how did you do that?
Yeah.
How were you able to play? Because we all know you had a broken ankle. And it wasn't fully healed. There's no way.
Right.
But you got out there and you played a great game.
Yep.
And that's what I mean. They just, like I said, and Isaiah with basically a sprained ankle. It was probably a borderline break.
Yeah.
But bottom line is he was out there. I'll never forget that game he played.
It's play like that.
I was shocked because I go, well, Isaiah's going to play. I go, but he won't be any good. Yeah. Well, I was dead wrong.
Yeah, me too. Because I said they're in trouble with him injured. He's not going to be his guy. Himself. I said they're going to dominate. I know. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember the exact points, but it was 30-something points he scored in that game.
Right.
And I just remember him just scoring at will. And guys could not stop him or nothing.
Now, when I was reading this book, I watched the Knicks that year. I was every game. I watched every game on TV or listened to it on the radio. I was 14 years old. But the point is this. Reading the book brought back old memories how great Cassie Russell was.
Yeah.
Cassie Russell was a great player. I know maybe I'm overstating a little bit. He would come off that Knick bench and score like you would not. But he and Mike Reardon in the book, because Dave DeBuscher saying he was hurt, he was tired, he played some, but Cassie Russell and Mike Reardon would come off the bench and score points, like 22 points, 24 points, so many rebounds. And Cassie Russell was a great player in that. He could have played. I'm convinced Cassie Russell could play in today's game because he was 6'6", and he jump shot. He could shoot and score.
Yep.
And he had a great shot. Defense, they said, was a little questionable, but boy, he could score.
Yeah,
he would be I think he'd be a really good NBA player. And it got me thinking today about players that played back in the 60s. Could they play today? And I'm throwing Kazi in there, but the players that I think today in 60s and 70s, because what people don't realize, back in 1969, that was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was still Lou Alcindor in 69. He brought Milwaukee, got Milwaukee 56 wins as a rookie.
Right. Yep.
And they were the worst team, and he was the number one pick, and he got him into the playoffs, but he lost to the Knicks in 5 games in the finals, in the conference finals.
Yep.
And he had a couple, like Flynn Robinson was on that team. Oscar was not. Oscar Robertson came the following year, and they won the title with Oscar.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking of players like that, and like the players that could play today's game would be Russell, Chamberlain, obviously Jabbar.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize, Jabbar played till 1989. He played 20 years.
Yeah.
And he was good.
Yep.
He was really good.
Yep.
He won all the titles with the Lakers. He won one with the Bulls. But Jabbar was and still people argue that Jabbar is the best big man. And maybe the most skilled big man.
Yeah. Yeah.
On that team. And I look at Chamberlain and Russell, obviously, because Chamberlain was just an unbelievable. And people don't realize the games that Russell and the Celtics beat him in game 7s. Like, he had 2 years that they lost brutal game 7s, and the Celtics won the title. That Chamberlain, if they win those games, they probably win a title. Chamberlain could have had more titles. So close, though. Razor thin.
Yep.
Those teams, Philadelphia and Boston, there was very little as far as one being better than the other. But I always thought Russell, Chamberlain, obviously Jabbar, and Jerry West would be a great 3-point shooter, and Oscar Robertson, because nobody could stop Oscar Robertson.
Right.
Nobody could.
Yeah. No.
And those guys, and then I threw Kazi Russell after reading the book, because I said, boy, you could put Kazi on a team today, and he would light it up. He would come in at 6'6" and shoot the eyes out of the basket.
Yeah.
He would fit into this NBA like the wing, play Kazi off the wing, and he could come down and light it up. He did it for the Knicks.
Yep. He did.
Great player.
Yep.
But those are the players that I was thinking, like guys and DeBusschere was a great rebounder. He was only 6'6", but he knew positioning where to be and rebound. Now, he doesn't really, in the book, he's talking a diary, and he says, he doesn't give himself any kind of props. He doesn't give himself any pat on the backs. In fact, you read it and you think this guy's tired all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's his diary. So he's not saying, I played a great game because I had an average game or I didn't play good.
Right.
But he never gave himself any kind of props. But the point is, and then the other thing with the book, he's talking about Willis Reed, and he refers to him as Willie. He called Willie Reed. He called him Willie. Willie played a good game. Willie said, and then he talked about Dick Barnett, and he calls him Rich.
Yeah.
He called him Rich. Is Dick Barnett. We knew him as Dick Barnett, but he he and Barnett were they sound like they were good friends.
Right.
And he said Barnett was just funny and a character, and he kept everybody, and he said that Walt Frazier and Willis Reed, they used to get into fights in practice all the time. And Holes, at one point in the book, they were talking about Frazier's passing the ball to Reed, and they've been practicing for like an hours. They're like, and I'm thinking, God, this is so interesting. And they're tired, and they're still out there practicing. And he goes in the book, Reed's telling him to pass the ball to him, and Frazier say, yeah, but you got to move, for me to pass it. And Reed's saying, no, I don't have to move. You just need to pass me the dang ball. And so they're arguing.
Yeah.
In a practice about this. And finally, Red Holzman says, will you guys just play ball and just cool it? And they're arguing. And finally, I think Holzman says, all right, that's it. Enough for the practice. We've been out here too long. That's a take. Because he was just like, those guys are just like, okay, they're arguing, they're getting mad at one another. He's like, but it was so interesting to hear this. And obviously, they had the ultimate respect for one another. Frazier and Reed, they were the glue. That was the team. And then now this 69-70, Earl Monroe was not on that team.
Right.
But they did talk about beating Earl Monroe in the first round of the playoffs.
Yep.
And Frazier said, and even DeBusschere writes in his book, that Monroe wouldn't even look at the basket and make the shots. And they couldn't find out how he did it. He said that Earl Monroe would come down and he would make his moves and he'd turn around and shoot the ball. And they said he wasn't looking at the basket half the time and the ball went in.
Yeah. He was something else anyway.
He was an yeah. And then he actually came to the Knicks in 71 on the trade. Yeah. But the point is, it was just when you're reading about this, and it brings back, obviously, for me, old memories because I remember these teams. And I remember Monroe being absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, if Frazier couldn't guard him. Yeah. And Walt Frazier was one of the best defenders in the league. And he said, he said in the book, he said, he's going to score. They tried to double team him. And that didn't kind of work because Monroe could still make the shots. Mm-hmm. And he almost got real frustrated is trying to deny him the ball so he wouldn't get the ball.
Right.
But once he got the ball, it was over.
Yeah. Yep.
And he had that moves. I remember those head jerky moves. He with the body, he spun around and then take that shot. And he goes, he's looking over here and the ball's up out of his hands going into the basket. And he never looked at the basket.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys, they were magicians back then.
They were back then.
Yeah, it was. Those guys was unbelievable though. When I think about them, they were unbelievable. So you think if they had the training facility
today,
stuff, and the ability they had back then, if you put that today, who would stop these guys?
No. And Cassie Russell was into health. Like he was into drinking certain kind of milk. I think it was like tiger milk or something. He was doing the ab wheel. They call it the wonder wheel, but he was doing an ab wheel back then to keep his core in shape. And he said Cassie had all kinds of, and Barnett would Barnett was always asking him what are you doing that? Barnett had all these questions for him and Cassie was, no, you got to do this, you got to do that. And Barnett's, what's he doing?
Yep.
But it was just such a fascinating book to read. This is scary. It was over 50 years ago now, obviously 54 years ago, but it was just so interesting to read this book and the interaction with the players and Reed and Frazier, and they were just competitive guys.
Yeah, and that's really what it was. They were just
competitive nature.
Yeah. Yep.
And again, they had the respect, and people don't realize that these NBA guys, even today, they travel with one another. They kind of basically live with one another for 82 games? How many? That's 6-7 months. Of course, they're going to get on one another's nerves.
Yeah.
And they're going to argue and get into these tussles.
Yeah.
And because
really, that is your family because you're there with them almost more than your regular family.
Yeah. And you're going to get into arguments and you are going to fight and you're hopefully physically not fight, but get into arguments.
Yep.
But, you hear these guys talk, Walt Frazier and Willis Reed were joined at the hip and they were sure close friends. Of course but it was part of the, doing it right, focusing in on getting to the goal.
Yep. That's how it was. But, hey, it was great. I love the foundation of what they built.
They did.
And guys need to respect those guys that were the founding, that really built.
Because those guys weren't making a lot of money.
No.
And you go back into the 60s, early 60s. I mean, I was looking at the average salary in the 60s. I mean, Chamberlain made $65,000. He was the highest paid player.
Yeah.
And in 68, Russell got $101,000 because Chamberlain was getting $100.
Yeah.
Russell wanted to be the highest paid player. He wanted $1 more than Wilt.
Yep.
In the last 2 years, 68, 69, Russell was the highest paid player in the NBA at $101,000.
Yeah. That's funny, boy.
It's hilarious. And I remember reading that in a book with Russell said, I wanted to be the highest paid player. I want $1 more than Wilt. And Wilt didn't care. Wilt was just, and what was interesting with this book is the Busher, and he's talking to Elgin Baylor. And he said that Baylor was quiet on the court. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like to me from reading the book, they didn't talk trash.
Yeah.
They had a lot of respect. And Wilt even said, do you think in the game 7 is Reed going to play? And even when Reed went down with the injury, Wilt came up to Busher said, man, that's too bad that he's out hurt. Because, Wilt thought that, and Baylor was the same way. They were like, this is bad, terrible that Willis went down with the injury.
Yep.
And he said Baylor didn't say much, and and DeBusschere would say, to the game, have a good game, Elgin. And Elgin goes, yeah, you do. Same thing, Dave. And they played hard against one another.
Right.
And they had obviously, and in the book, he said that at one point they're talking about the Lakers, and he said that with Wilt hurt his knee and went out with an ACL, and he came back that year in 69-70. He was hurt beginning of the year with a knee injury.
Right.
And he came back and played and was very good. But he said that West and Elgin Baylor carried the team the whole season. And he said there's probably no two guys that could do it but those.
Yeah. I can see that. Elgin Baylor was an unstoppable player. And then you pass that ball out to West, who very seldom missed.
He had the shot. And then Elgin played, I didn't know this. He was missing part of his kneecap. Elgin Baylor played with half of I think he said that in the book and that's when that injury, when Elgin Baylor got hurt, I believe they had to take out part of his kneecap, and he played the rest of his career with half of a kneecap.
Mm-hmm.
And they said he was still a great player, but before that, he was a fantastic player.
Yeah, yeah.
He was Dr. J before Dr. J.
Yep.
Unbelievable player.
Yep.
And he said West and Elgin carried the team.
It was.
And I remember it was an analyst always said with Jerry West, he had a flat shot. And he said, Jerry West has a flat shot. It always looks like it's going to fall short of the basket, but it goes in.
Mm-hmm. Just right.
Yep.
Just enough to get it over the lip.
Yep.
And that's what
every time.
Yep.
Every time you see his shot, I think it was Russell that said that at one time, that he thought West had a flat shot. And it looks like it's going to be short, but it goes right over the rim every time. Mm-hmm. But it always looks like it's going to come up short. It's like a flat shot.
Mm-hmm.
And it just comes up short.
Yeah,
but it goes, it doesn't come up short. It just goes in, though you think it's going to bounce off the front of the rim.
Yeah, he can shoot the ball.
But he could shoot it. And that's why I think he could have played. I think Elgin Baylor with a full kneecap could have played in today's game.
Yeah.
There are certain guys in that time frame that could play. Like Oscar Robertson, to me, would just be. He was a beast. He was an unbelievable player.
Yeah, he was.
And I remember Kevin Lockery. It was on Mad Dog Russo, and Mad Dog asked him about who was better, Oscar or Jerry West, and he said, by a hair, Oscar, slightly better than Jerry. Now, he says it's close. It's so close, it's like a hair.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I know they were great players. I remember watching them. That's for sure. There was a lot of great players you can go back to that you don't even think about.
No.
Lenny Wilkins. You think about him just coaching the Cavaliers. He was a very good point guard.
Very great.
Yep.
And the other underrated player back then, played for the Bulls, I liked him a lot, was Bob Love.
Oh, yeah.
Butterbean Bob Love. He was 6'8".
Number 10.
Number 10. And he had that. He was 6'8", 6'9", thin, and he could shoot and play ball. And I always liked Bob Love, Norm Van Leer, and Jerry Sloan on those Bull teams.
Well, that was the most. That's the backcourt you didn't want to play.
No, that was.
Was some mean guys right there. You were in trouble playing against them guys in the backcourt.
Norm Van Leer was just. He was a wild man.
Van Leer and Jerry Sloan. You didn't want no parts of them guys. Those guys was nuts. I'm serious. You come and play against them, then you still had Love. You didn't want to play against that. And this thing, and you look at that team, it was rough playing against them. They were a middle of the pack team.
Yeah, they could never get past, but they kept. See, this is the thing with what folks don't understand they don't have a title. Yeah, but they were running against great teams. Like Charles Barkley doesn't have a title, and Ewing doesn't because of Michael Jordan.
Right.
And Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yep. That's why.
That is why you kept running into great players.
Couldn't win because of them guys.
You kept running head first into those players, keeping you from a title because the teams were so good, but you could not basically get by Jordan.
Yeah.
And those Bull teams.
Yeah. I mean, it just happened. That's the way it was when Houston was on the road. You were not beating them. I mean, and Hakeem was just...
And it came when Jordan sat out the 2 years or missed 1 year, and it was Olajuwon.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Jordan was back, he won the titles.
Yep.
And the same thing with Chamberlain. People don't understand that Wilt Chamberlain came so close year in and year out, but he couldn't get past Russell and the Celtics.
Yeah, because they
barely.
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 They had great teams. It was hard to beat that team because they was together for so long.
Right. No free agency.
No. And that team was just too good all the way around the board, and that's why. But they would just barely lose to him, though.
No, he lost. You're right. Wilt Chamberlain, I'll look it up, but 2 years in a row, I think it was when he was with the Sixers, it might have been 65 and 66. He lost 2 brutal game 7s to the Celtics that could have gone their way.
Yep.
That close. Yep. And the Celtics went on and beat the Lakers in the title. And Jerry West had the same problem. He couldn't beat the Celtics.
Right.
He kept getting beat by Bill. In fact, it got Bill. Jerry West didn't even want to go back to Boston. After he retired, he wouldn't go back to the city.
Yeah.
Because it brought back nightmares of him losing to the Celtics.
Yep.
But Chamberlain had to be on one of the best teams ever in 67 to beat the Celtics. And that 67 76er team, that and the 72 Laker team that Wilt was on that won the title, you get into the arguments, and the 86 Celtics may be the 3 greatest teams of all time.
Right.
You can argue who's the best.
Yeah.
But supposedly experts believe those 3 teams. And then you can get in the argument, throw one of the Chicago Bull teams with Jordan in the discussion.
Right.
But that team didn't have the center that those teams did.
Yeah, and it's in a different game, too. And
right.
I look at those teams. It was a year that they had Rodman. That was the Bulls' great team. That team, I think it was his first season there, right? Yeah, that team was ridiculous.
That team was a beast.
Yeah.
Is that the team that won I believe they won the 72 games and won the title.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we said, Golden State won 73 games, but they didn't win the title.
No, you didn't. You didn't beat the Cavs. You know what? You won the 73 games. You don't win the title too bad. You don't get in the discussion as a great team. You got to do
all the way through.
You got to get through it all. Like baseball, the year Seattle won all those games and got beat by the Yankees.
Right.
You didn't win it all. You're sorry. You don't fall into the discussion as a great team. You got to win it.
Yep.
You got to basically cash in and do the deed.
Yep.
And win, and you've got to win the title.
Yep, and they didn't cash in. Right.
That 2016 team, the Golden State, they were 73. They broke the record with 73 wins, but they lost to LeBron and Kyrie.
Yeah.
Kyrie made the shot. LeBron made the block. Kyrie made the shot, and they lost in games. They came back. They lost in 7 games. They were down, they were up 3-1, and LeBron and Kyrie and the Cavs came back.
And they had to go out.
And they had to go out
and get Kevin Durant, no matter what they say. They had to go out. That loss devastated the Golden State Warriors. They couldn't handle it. They had to go get Kevin Durant to make this work. And
to win 2 in a row.
Yeah. And they still had problems. If the games change in that series, the first game with the Cavs, when LeBron's waiting for somebody to take a shot, they didn't do it. Clock gets, that was a game. They win that first game.
That
whole series could be different. Whole different.
And we've seen that time and time again, where a series, game 1 could sometimes dictate the way a series is going to go.
And they had nowhere near the talent level that the Golden State Warriors had, but they were right in it.
Well, and that was because that's what basically gets into the argument with LeBron. I know there's critics out there, but that was the difference with LeBron. He could take average team and get them, and he was the difference maker, making them so much better. Right. Now, granted, the year they should have actually won it the year before. The Cavs should have won it in 15, but Love and Kyrie were hurt.
Right.
If Love and Kyrie were healthy,
They might beat Golden State.
They win. Yeah, they beat Golden State that year because that would have. I think they easily beat Golden State if Love and Kyrie were healthy, and LeBron. They win in 15 and 16, and then like you said, 17 and 18. But if Durant doesn't sign with Golden State, I think the Cavs could have won at least another title.
Yeah,
they could have had at least 3 titles.
Yeah, yep, I think so too.
But Durant was the difference maker ultimately, no doubt.
I mean, you got Clay and Steph and Draymond, and then you put Kevin Durant on there.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just too much.
Saturday morning sports page, 4th quarter coming up after a quick timeout. Western Reserve Radio.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway Club Fitting Center, and an Odyssey Fitting Studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
What do basketball, choir, drama club, and marching band all have in common? They're all high school activities that offer learning opportunities not necessarily found in the classroom. They take up just a fraction of a typical Ohio high school's budget, and they go a long way to giving young people the tools they need to thrive. High school activities, they're more than extracurricular. They're extra important, too. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. Yeah, talking a lot about, we've been kind of all over the board this day, but it's July and this is what we get. I get back to reminiscing about the old New York Knicks teams, and I obviously just read that book about DeBusschere, which is a great read. It's quick.
Yeah.
Wrote it in 1970.
Okay.
Diary.
Yeah.
And I love the travel was just brutal. And he was just talking. Here's a funny part. He just said they finally got the Players Association, what was little there was, but Oscar was behind it.
Mm-hmm.
They finally got the owners to allow the players to fly first class. Because before then they were flying in coach. And you had those 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" players with their knees touching their chins as they're sitting there for 2 hours.
Right.
3 hours. And it was just reading this book, and and the pay was average salary like $20,000 a year. It just, and that's why the players today get well paid, and they're getting millions of gills, and, good for them.
Yep.
And, it's just when you see what they got paid back then, and some of these guys had jobs, and football was the same way. In fact, football players made like $12,000 if they made that, 20, maybe some made 20,000. But I mean, the salaries were just unheard of, so low.
Yeah.
And then and in the 70s, they got a little bit better than the 80s, finally. But, Charles Barkley came out and said Magic and Bird saved the NBA, and he's probably right to some extent.
Yeah, because
in 1980.
Yeah, it was going downhill.
Sure. And then Stern became the commissioner in 84, and then he really elevated the league.
Yeah,
he got the TV money and got the advertising and got him on prime time, and he really built the team to where the league as to where it is today almost. And then as Silver's come in, and he continues to work on what Stern did, but Stern was the commissioner that I thought really helped build the league, and he had Magic and Bird to do it.
Yep. Perfect time. Had them, and they just took it to a level.
Yes.
Everything worked out perfectly because Jordan came in.
And then Jordan took over.
Yeah, as it was winding down for those guys. They still had something left at the time.
Oh, they did.
So it was still going, but then it wind down, and he just took that to another level. And
in the 90s.
Yep. And it just kept going. So, and now we got a game that's well-rounded and flourishing. But as we said, how great it is, how graceful NBA players is, nothing's going to ever get past football in college or the NFL.
No.
You just can't bypass that stuff.
You can't.
That's just unbelievable.
Football is coming to America's sport.
They keep trying to destroy it. They're trying to make it be where we don't have football and turn it into a flag league if they possibly could.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of people don't want that.
And they don't want that. They've got to find I know they're into, I get it. The safety and the helmet and the head injuries and all the problems. And I get it. You can get into like the argument, but you also have assumption of risk where you're playing football. That's kind of assuming a risk of a contact sport too.
Right.
So people that play football, there is a risk.
Right.
So there is contact. And, you can get into that debate. And I know, the hits now, they don't have those brutal hits we saw in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s that were just unbelievable. I saw an old film clip the other day just on Facebook. It was just unbelievable.
Probably the same one.
Yeah.
I watched 15 of the. Is that the one you said?
That was the one. Yes.
I mean, you see guys get almost decapitated.
Yes.
And one of them was our own area guy. On one of the hits, Brad Smith got hit coming across the middle. I forgot who they was playing. The Jets was playing.
Right.
Might have been Baltimore, somebody. Boy, did he
just get obliterated.
Oh, my God. Did he get obliterated? And just think about it. He withstand that and still was one of the best kick returners in the league. And
good player.
Just a good athlete.
Yeah, Brad Smith was an overall really great athlete.
Yeah.
Good. He played. I did a high school football game when he played for Cheney.
Yeah,
he was really a good basketball player too.
Yep, he sure was.
He was like 6'1".
Yep.
He just had quickness, get to the basket quick.
Yep.
Really a great player.
Yep.
You could see, and then football, but I could make an argument had he gone into basketball, he could have possibly worked and developed maybe into an NBA player if he would have got to the right program and coach. But he chose the football route and did very good.
Yeah.
But it's just that he was that highly skilled player that could really play just about any sport.
Those guys took those hits now. So
those guys,
it's nothing like it is now, but they still get some big time hits in the game today. But people want to cry and get football out of there. How are you going to have hockey then? How can you have these sports going on if you're going to have football? I mean, or let's go one more. UFC. When you look at the UFC and how they do it, that is nothing but street fighting.
To me, UFC is like one step above cockfighting. With the way those guys fight one another, man. It kind of reminds me of that. It's like the cockfighting with the two roosters killing, pecking away till one dies.
Yeah.
Honest to God, I watched some of that fighting, and even the women do it.
Yeah.
I can't watch it.
I know.
I just can't watch that.
No, and then it just pounds.
It's not boxing. Boxing was different. That's just as you referred to it as a street brawl.
I
don't find that entertaining at all. I don't like to watch that. That's violence. Like that.
Yeah, it's not boxing. I don't look at
boxing is skill because you got guys moving, and it's more of you could see the guy that leans in and punches or the jab, and you watched all the fights. Muhammad Ali, the greatest, but then all the other Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, those guys, Sugar Ray Leonard, it was a violent sport, but it was a sport.
Yeah, it was, and a lot of skill. And
it was skill, and the way Hagler fought at that southpaw with that long left. He was a lefty, and he had that long arm, he had jab. He was such a great fighter to watch, and Hearns and Leonard, and even Benitez, and some of those guys.
You don't remember how good Wilfred Benitez was. Great fight.
And he had that great fight with Leonard. It was still to this day, 1979. I remember it like it was yesterday.
His brother-in-law when they fought.
Yeah,
because he was married to Sugar Ray's sister.
Right. That's how I said it was like his family member. But that was like I said. It was boxing. It was different. This UFC fighting is just, I don't know. It's like just fighting. It's a street brawl.
I mean, I'm watching guys pound a guy into his face into the
it's like the Roman gladiators where they almost
they're in the cage, they slam it, and then they just keep pounding, pound. I said, you're gonna kill this guy.
That's gonna kill. I mean, that's not.
I can't watch.
I can't watch
I'm with
it.
you. I don't get into it at all.
I can't at all.
And they making big money because they got big fights, pay-per-views every week.
And there's believe me, you're right. You read about all these guys and even the women.
Yeah, even the women.
The women make big money, and and I watch the women. They beat one another up like the men.
Yeah,
and pound one another. And even the person's out, and they're still pounding away at that person. That's craziness.
Yeah.
I don't think. That's not entertaining. It's not,
straight violence, like you said. And I've seen some very attractive women fighting. But I said, how are they going to look maybe after a few years of fighting in this? I want to see what the after effects.
Right.
This isn't, but I can't get into it.
No.
At all.
No. I get, like I
boxing,
said.
I know they say there's a strategy in that too, but
I don't know.
I don't get it. It's just,
I don't really get into that.
That's straight violence.
That's just, to me, violence.
Yep.
That's like just watching violence, and I don't see that entertaining. Boxing, it was a violent sport, but it's not like football is violent, I guess, if you take the hits, but it's sport.
Hockey is violent when you think of what they do, but it's different.
It's different. The only thing I don't like about hockey is they actually like fighting. Like they actually accept the taking off the gloves and fighting.
Yeah, and letting them do it.
I don't really see, once they do that, it's no longer a sport kind of.
Right.
Now it's kind of almost like big time wrestling.
Yeah.
It's no longer a sport. That's where it loses me and then obviously you're watching it on TV, you don't know where the heck the puck is. So it's hard to follow hockey anyway. That's where I kind of cut off, and I don't get into soccer at all because there are people out there that love soccer and watch it.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't score enough. I mean, I knew a guy that basically when World Cup was up, he would take the 2 weeks vacation and go watch the World Cup at home for 2 weeks. He took vacation time. He told me. I worked with him. He said, I'm going to be out 2 weeks. I go, where are you going for 2 weeks? Because World Cup's coming on. I got to go home and watch it. I go, yeah, it's on for 2 weeks. I go, yeah, I guess it is 2 weeks. Because now I'm going to take my 2 week vacation. I got, vacation time. I'm taking it. I'm staying home and watching the World Cup. All of it? Oh, yeah. You didn't miss a game. He took vacation to stay home and watch World Cup, man.
I'll watch rugby before I watch soccer.
Problem is, I grew up football, baseball, basketball.
Right.
That's the core.
Yep. The only reason I can watch rugby is it reminds me of street football or a game we used to call here. They had different names for it, but rough and tumble. If you remember that playing football, it's one guy, you get the ball and everybody tries to tackle you. That's what rugby
That's what rugby is.
And I just watched that. There's some strategies. I see how they do it, but it's hard for me to stay totally focused into that also.
Yeah,
I can't stay totally focused, but I can watch that way before I can watch a soccer game. You would believe I lose focus because rugby does have a little core of football to it, especially the run game. You know, they're not throwing passes really out there, but the run game part of it, blocking and all that, I see that. But I'm with you. You almost got to go to your basics: football, basketball, baseball. You know, regular boxing.
I just like the regular boxing.
They got everything on TV if you watch it now. They got bare knuckles fighting. You ever see that?
Yeah.
Bare knuckles.
Bare knuckle.
They're out there, they're fighting. They just got some tape around it and they're fighting. And I said, that's just nothing but celebrated street fighting. These guys is fighting bare knuckles. I'm like, I'm done. I can't get it.
No, I could never get into it. Like I said, I think back when I was watching sports on TV. Boxing was about the best. Never got into the wrestling thing. I never got into any of the wrestling. I could never get into any of that at all. But like I said, there are a lot of people that basically get into it.
Especially the old WWF back in the day, they loved it. They love it today too, but I'm just saying back then, I knew so many people that was really into it. It was more like a comedy show for me. Watch it. Soap opera.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, sliding over, I was looking at, we kicked off the program kind of talking about value of franchises.
Mm-hmm.
This is recent. The Dallas Cowboys have a value. They are the number one most valuable team right now. They have want to call it a book value, but a value of $9.2 billion. So if you want to buy the Cowboys, Jerry would get that says it's worth 9.2. The question is, if they actually did sell it, what would they actually get?
Yes, he'd probably sell that for $20 billion.
Yeah.
Probably could.
I bet he could.
Yep.
The Yankees are next with $7.1 billion.
Wow.
Hal Steinbrenner owns it now, I think with his sister. But the Steinbrenner family owns it, put it that way. But if they sold the Yankees, they would get a lot more than $7 billion.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Yankees are pretty much the standard on baseball.
Right.
And they and the Cowboys are always they're always competing for number one.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen prior lists that the Yankees are just tied with the Cowboys. This has got the Cowboys $2 billion. But I wouldn't be surprised if they could get $14, $15 billion for them.
Oh, yeah.
Easy.
Yep.
And then here's an interesting one. Tied at number 3, and I thought this was interesting, Golden State.
Wow.
And the New England Patriots are tied at $7 billion.
Wow.
So they're tied for number 3 at $7 billion.
And you have to give credit to the Steph Curry era.
That's by far
and
that's
the Tom Brady era.
Oh yeah,
that did it.
Two players, 100%.
Yeah, they did it.
100%. Those two teams have that value basically based on the two players: Curry, Golden State, Brady, Patriots.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, that's unbelievable. I would have never thought.
I was shocked when I saw it. However, the only thing I will say, I don't believe now that opens up the door because we wanted to get to some free agent signings. I know Bronny James signed a 4-year deal for a second round pick, and everybody's outraged by it because no second round pick ever got that.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah.
Look, let's call this for what it was. First of all, I don't. Bronny didn't earn anything here. I know somebody. Reddick is trying to say Bronny earned it. No, he didn't. We get this. He got it because LeBron was holding out. You sign my son, I'll sign the extension. That's what happened.
Right.
Okay. I wish the best for Bronny. I hope he develops into a pretty good basketball player. I thought he should have stayed in college and developed his game, but I get it. He went to the NBA. He'll probably get into the G League. Is it? Yeah. He'll play
They said with that contract,
he'll
probably be on one of the regular.
He'll be
on a regular roster.
He'll be on a regular roster, and he'll get to develop hopefully get into a great player, which, that's great. Yeah. I think,
I want to see how he plays during the summer. But they said he was great
at summer league.
At the pre-draft camp.
He
combine.
did good on the camps.
They said he did great.
We'll see how he goes. Everybody's, just
let him make his own.
Let him make.
He's not said it too.
Yeah.
He's got to make his own.
Right. He'll make his own way.
He's not LeBron.
No.
He said, I'm not my dad.
No.
He's unsaid it.
He's just, LeBron's son, he's got an opportunity based on LeBron being his father. That's sometimes the American way. Yeah. That happens. People need to get over that. Let the young man develop, which I think he will. I think he might surprise a few people out there.
Yeah.
Because he's got the family genes.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be a pretty good basketball. He might be a really good basketball player.
I think he's going to surprise. And I hope he does.
And I hope he does.
Right. But no matter what he does, they're going to keep putting some kind of label, keep beating him down. The same thing they do to LeBron. I said I never get into it, but I sent something on Twitter or something. And you got these men bantering back and forth. And I said, people got opinions. So I said, how in the world, grown men, for 20 years, this guy's been playing in the NBA at a high level, and we still arguing about, is he the GOAT? Is he great? Is he great? He's not good. You got people calling him Le Bum instead of LeBron.
Oh, I know. I see that all the time.
And I said, it's so funny. I said, we know he's great. And I said, the reason we know he's great, because people are still talking about him.
That's right.
If he wasn't any good, nobody would talk about him. But it's because he is that you keep talking about him and putting him down because he is great.
That's right.
You validate what you say he's not.
That's right.
By your stupidness. And I put it in there. The guy got mad.
Oh, I bet he got.
I cracked up. He was so upset.
Oh, I bet
he was upset. But I don't care.
Oh, no. I see it on.
Because that is. You validate what you say he's not.
Right.
By always complaining. You wouldn't say nothing about him.
No.
He's a bum. So he's a bum. We don't even talk about them guys. We don't sit here and talk about, what is our guy we used to talk about? We didn't really talk about, we just bring him up. Tyler Palko. Do we sit here and talk about Tyler Palko as one of the greatest NFL quarterbacks? No. We don't talk about that. So if he's a bum, why are we still talking about him? Why are we still arguing whether he's
you're always going to get into the Jordan and LeBron and it's like, I remember years ago, they asked Willis Freed this question. And he just basically, they were asking him, like the today player, how would you fare? And he goes, I'll be honest with you. I don't like to compare players from different eras. Different game, different players played the game. They all played hard, competitive, and I know today's players are better athletes. They should be because they have the, technology and everything, but it's just so hard to compare players from different eras to say this guy's better, no, this guy's better. And it's true.
Right.
I mean, and the game itself now is different. Mm-hmm. It's a whole different game. And that's why it's like I said, LeBron, he got how many finals did he get Cleveland? Every year he was in the finals. Now he didn't win, but he got his team there every year. Now some people argue, well, he was in the East. It was easier for him to get the Cavs there because the East was easier than the West. He wouldn't have done it if he was in the West.
Yeah.
All these ifs and buts.
Yeah.
But bottom line, he still got his team to the finals.
Yeah, no, he still had every
year.
To beat him.
You still had to win games. So, I mean, they
just try to find things to say against them. They do something that it's just a hate.
But I think Bronny will be okay. Like I said, I really wish the kid the best. I think he will be a pretty good player. He'll just have time to develop and learn the game, but I think he has the skill there. And we could talk about this. I saw some guy write, what did they say? He didn't deserve to be drafted. He can't prove that he can play in the NBA. And I thought to myself, I got news. None of these guys have proved they could play in the NBA.
Yeah.
I don't care who gets drafted.
Right.
Nobody could prove that they play till they play.
That's right.
All these guys that get drafted even can make
Europe
the argument.
And all that,
yes.
and they were looking great in international ball. That's great. I'm glad about it. They still haven't proved they could play in the NBA yet.
And neither can in the NFL. These guys can't prove they play. That's right, they can't. They haven't played there yet.
Right.
Nobody. I don't care who gets drafted. There's no proof they can play at the next level until they do.
Caleb Williams gets ripped in stuff like LeBron does.
Oh, yeah.
They call him a bum too. This, that,
Yeah,
blah, blah. He ain't did anything yet.
He ain't done anything.
He didn't just because was he good in college? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, but they ain't playing. Well, I don't care. He still was a winner. He was a guy that played at a high level. Right. You give him the credit of what he did.
We don't know.
No.
I mean, I don't know. Any of these quarterbacks are going to be any good.
I mean, they're saying right now Jaden Daniels
looks fantastic.
He may come in and be terrible.
But that's practice.
You don't know. I mean, they don't know.
Nobody knows.
Until the real bullets start flying, as
when they get in the game, that's when you'll know.
People talk about what's the guy that what's the quarterback of Carolina? What a wasted draft pick last year. No, last year, our quarterback came from Alabama, Young.
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. He's a bum. He's terrible. Give him an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
He's done played one season. Give him some more. Got to see. I can't call him a bum yet.
It's too early yet. You don't know.
It's way too early.
Let's hit the phones. You're on the sports page. What's up?
Hey, good morning, Pat. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning.
Hey, Irish Mike.
All morning doing my yard work, getting some things done. I lost track of time. I meant to give you a call a bit earlier. But, real quickly, guys, two things. One, you're talking about all the NBA stories of the 70s and 80s. I read a book about the, Lakers Celtics of the 80s.
Yes.
Great book a couple years back. And two stories I can recall from there. One in 84 when the Celtics beat the Lakers in 7 games.
Yes.
To win the NBA championship in the Boston Garden. I don't think you guys remember Game 4 when it was a very physical game. Kevin McHale close line, Kurt Rambis for a layup, and Kareem and Bird got into it.
Yep.
Elbows, and it was some dirty basketball there, guys.
Oh no,
it was 2 games apiece going back to Game 5 in Boston, Game 6 LA, Game 7 in Boston. And when they went back to New York, David Stern called Pat Riley and Casey Jones into his office in New York City after Game 4. As they prepared for Game 5 in the Garden in Boston, and said, "Hey, you guys have knocked this stuff off.
Right.
Getting bad press on all this thuggery. These guys knocking each other over, flagrant fouls that we call flagrant today, et cetera, et cetera." And had a half-hour meeting with the commissioner, Casey Jones and Pat Riley. And Riley said later on the biggest mistake he made as a coach, he went back and told his team what the commissioner had said. They both agreed to it and said, "Okay, well, we'll calm our teams down." He said Casey Jones went back to his team and didn't say anything.
No. And
he knew that's the way they needed to play to win.
Well, and some people.
And Riley said that was great learning as a young coach. That was a great learning tool. He said he outcoached me right there.
Yeah. Yep. And to add to that, that was that hard foul that McHale did on Rambis. Experts believe that turned the series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that flipped the series right on the dime because LA was really outplaying Boston, and that one play turned the series around and enabled Boston to win the series.
85-86 Celtics, maybe even one of the 3 or 4 best season teams in the history of the NBA. Remember they traded for Bill Walton. They traded Cedric Maxwell of the Clippers for Walton. He came in.
Yep.
And they said they were in training camp, green versus white. And they said Danny Ainge said some of the games from practice were unbelievably good. And he said the one practice, Parrish went into for power move. Bill Walton blocked his shot. The white team went down the other end, and Walton power moved and dunked over Larry Bird.
Yep.
And he said Larry Bird and Kevin McHale stopped that court and started playing Bruce Springsteen's song, the air guitar, "Glory Days," by Bruce Springsteen.
Yep, they knew.
For Bill Walton. He had that lisp and he spoke with a stutter.
Yep.
Walton looked at McHale and Bird and said, "Absolutely."
That's right. No.
Yep.
Walton went into Boston, and the first thing he did was call Parrish and say, "Hey, I'm not taking your spot. I'm just going to help you. I'm going to support you, Robert Parrish. You're the man. You're the starter, but I'm there to give you a breather, and I want the team better, but I'm second fiddle to you. You're the man. I don't want you to think I'm coming in. And that was the first thing Bill Walton did, is contact Robert Parrish and tell him that.
Right.
Correct.
Yep.
No, and that's, and one other thing real quick, we're coming up against it. There was a picture of the 86 Celtics. Bill Walton was not 6'11". He was like about 7'2" or 7'3". He's standing next to Robert Parrish. He's got 2 inches on Robert Parrish.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Hey, thank you for the call, Irish Mike. Everybody stay safe. Do not drink, do not drive. We're out for a couple weeks. So stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon on the other end of the other end of the month. All right.
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
4 a.m. Pacific on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Stormy Bonatoni, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Big NFL